Good afternoon, everybody. It's Caroline Stevens, Seeking the Truth. And on today's show, I've got Mark Anthony Taylor, who's just returned from the SGT report. He's done a stonkingly great job. And now we're going to be doing a show on debunking the debunkers. Is this top secret or top scam? Over to you, Mark. Welcome.
Okay, thank you, Caroline.
Its internal U.S. intelligence is potentially compromised by the incoming Trump administration.
Wow, 52,854 as we speak.
Yes, we released this video, Sean and I, yesterday. This exposes the banking paedophile ring that we've gone through and basically shows how Epstein's blackmail ring is still in operation and it's still choosing the bankers. This was covered by Sean of SGT Report. Sean was extremely interested in a document that you sent to me, which seemed to be from Robert Hannigan of GCHQ. And it appeared to petition Boris Johnson to spy on Donald Trump as a favour for the Obama administration, probably to try and put Hillary Clinton into power. So this video so far has got 52,000 views within about 24 hours. 6,800 upvotes and 75 downvotes, so a 99% approval rating. But late at night, it drew a lot of flack because people started to allege that the opening document was a proven fake. And then this character called Daddy Dragon, who seems to, well, we know he's part of the English Democrats and Tilbrook crew. He did a hit video on it. He had something like 1,000 views in the middle of the night. And they swarmed onto this website and accused me of being a disinfo agent without actually being acquainted with any of my previous work or what I do or who I am. They just made this allegation. And they defamed you, Caroline. They seem to take a dislike to you, and they assume that anyone who is associated with you must be a really bad person. So rather than get into a slanging match of who is right and who is wrong, what I want to do is go through this top secret document forensically. And we're not so much establishing whether it's true or false, but whether it's a true or false narrative that emerges from it. The narrative is more important than the document itself. And what I'll show is what has been revealed from the start of this year, 2019, has basically debunked the people who said in 2017 that this document was fake. So let's have a look at this document. This is what I sent to Sean. So page 1 has a link to my website, shireman.com. The original scan that I got from you was fairly poor quality, so what I did was type it up, and we refer to that as a transcript. I'm just going to zoom that in a bit to help you readers at home. So what you can see here, it is allegedly from Robert Hannigan of GCHQ. It goes to Boris Johnson MP, dated 17th of November 2016. So this was about the time of the US presidential election, which Trump won.
It says Secretary of State for Foreign. Now, the foreign has been misspelled. Was that
Remember,
your error?
it's my error. That's a typo from me. I did this in about 20 minutes, and I'm
Okay.
a pretty bad typist. As you can see, the original, it says foreign. So I've
Yeah,
had a
it
few
does.
people say this document must be fake because foreign was spelled foreign. So people were kind of already inclined to interpret this as a fake when it was just errors in the transcript. See, there's a postcode there, GL51OEX. Some people have said that that doesn't match GCHQ.
Well, it's funny actually because I got an email from a lady. She's one of my followers, and she said this is actually a valid address.
Well, let's go to maps on Google, and it's GL51OEX. GL51OEX. Do a satellite view. Okay, so GL51EX. Or should be 03X, shouldn't it? Maybe. Why is that not working? Perhaps I need capitals. Let's have a look again. 0EX. Oh, EX. See how bad my typing is?
Yes, it must
Okay.
have taken you a long time to do that letter.
Well,
Right, okay, GCHQ.
yeah, so some people have said that postcode doesn't match GCHQ, but as you can see on Google Maps, that postcode is matched probably to the front entrance there of GCHQ. So anyone who's suggesting that postcode doesn't lead to GCHQ, needs to explain that Google Maps result. Now, there's also been there's a couple of criticisms of this document over the internet. You can see here, point 3, Hannigan referred to the Steele dossier man as Michael Steele, whereas the first name should be Christopher Steele. And some say he was an ex-MI6 agent rather than MI5. So the allegation is that someone writing this document who was a civil servant wouldn't make that mistake, and a secretary would spot and correct that error. So let's have a look at 4chan. Isn't it fun? No, not 4chan. We'll look at medium.com, see what they say about it. Now, the date of a lot of these debunking sites is around about 2017. So this article is released June 2017 by an anonymous user over 4chan. Various analysts over the internet have concluded that it's fake, and then that's become a meme. So everyone seems to accept that this document's fake, but is it? Okay, we'll look at medium.com, and medium.com says, despite repeated exposure as a fraud, including on 4chan itself, the letter continued to circulate and was used to bolster claims that Trump remains the victim of an international deep state conspiracy aimed at undermining his presidency. Well, we know with the Mueller report, all of that Russian collusion stuff was pure Hillary Clinton. and it was done with the help of Christopher Steele and probably his MI5 and MI6 spook buddies, as well as the CIA, which seems to be absolutely snide with traitors. So this deep state in quotes, which is mocking the deep state, has basically proven to be entirely incorrect. And so the opening paragraphs of this analysis show clear bias, and with the benefit of hindsight, are shown to be completely fallacious. So as you see, there's actually a clear version of this document here. Let's have a look at the criticisms. Okay, it says here, even if the author of a top secret document has been so sloppy as to give the source's name, which was, it referred to him as Michael Steele, it is beyond plausibility that they would get both Steele's first name and his affiliation wrong in a communication with their own document. So the allegation is that Hannigan could not possibly be so sloppy a character that he could get Steele's name wrong. But this was written in 2017. Let's have a look at what was disclosed in 2019. Theresa May allowed GCHQ spy chief to resign for family reasons after he helped paedophile Catholic priest avoid jail, despite media being told he would be caring for a sick relative. So he's told a pack of lies to the media. He was really kicked out of his job by the National Crime Agency, who knew he'd given a letter of recommendation to this Catholic priest who was Father Edmund Higgins. Now, Higgins had already been found guilty, and what Hannigan did was, who knew him for 20 years, had written a letter of recommendation into the court saying he was really of good character and he should basically get off with any further prosecutions.
How would he know him for 20 years? Why would he have known?
He was a staunch Catholic himself, and Hannigan tried to train to become a Catholic priest.
Really?
Yeah.
Was he married, Hannigan?
Yes, that's why he had to stop being a priest, learning to be a priest. Anyway, this man had written this letter of recommendation, and then this Father Edmund Higgins actually went on to do more crimes. Let's have a look.
They had caught Higgins boasting online of his sexual interest in babies, and he later confessed to possessing and making child abuse images. He visited chat rooms when child abuse was being shown, and in May 2016, he hosted a chat room where 9 videos were playing showing horrific child abuse, with one victim thought to be just 3 months old. When his house was raided, the NCA found more than 800 illegal images, 201 of which, that's a quarter of which, were in the most severe category. Even while he was on bail, he returned to the depraved online forums to reoffend.
Okay, now, from that evidence, which is public domain released by the Daily Mail, would you say that Hannigan, who wrote the letter of recommendation to Higgins, was diligent, or would you describe him as sloppy?
I would say very, very sloppy, considering that this message was out in the public domain, and he must surely have been aware of that when he wrote his recommendation to the courts.
Yeah, so even if the author of a top secret document had been so sloppy as to give the source's name it is beyond plausibility that we would both get Steele's first name and his affiliation wrong. Well, you've got a man who knows a Catholic priest for 20 years, who's the sort of priest who brags about his paedophilia. This man is the top, Hannigan is the top GCHQ boss, and we're supposed to believe that he has such diligence for his job that he wouldn't recklessly make a mistake. But we know from his character that he's both dishonest, he's lied to the papers, and he's a very poor judge of character, and he did not do his due diligence when writing the letter of recommendation. So I think he was indeed a sloppy man. That article is 2019, 2 years after this article is written. So the author of this article was in ignorance of Hannigan's sloppiness. And he's made an assumption that we know is actually contrary to Hannigan's true character. Do you agree with that, Caroline?
Absolutely.
Okay. Now we are told that Hannigan used terms such as surveil, which is an American English term, where the British use surveillance, and I think he uses one other term, but this is used to prove that whoever authored that letter speaks in an American English rather than British English, and they claim that this proves that Hannigan, the author of that letter must have been American. But remember that the GCHQ liaises with the CIA day by day because it's basically supplying data to the CIA on American subjects, which means lots of mail going between Hannigan and his counterparts in the NSA and CIA using American English again and again and again. So is it not plausible that he, just like we use stiff upper lip, which is an Americanism, isn't it plausible that he could have used surveil? So you can imagine lots of letters from NSA saying we need to surveil this man. Every day he'd get such letters. And then he adopts that as a shorthand for surveillance. That's not incredible. I don't think that's incredible to believe.
Not at all. I know sometimes when I have trouble logging onto Facebook, it basically gives me the option of American English or nothing at all. And I will certainly opt for the American English. So, you know, the spelling of certain words like center, people use the American spelling all the time.
And there are words that the Americans use Z where we use S. And defense, for example, is another word that has interchangeable spellings almost in the British English language now.
Yeah.
So if you look at this letter, it's actually not it's not, you know, it's actually fairly informal. It's something drafted together, directed to Boris Johnson. This isn't, say, a research document that details secret research. It's not meant to be used by a large number of people. It has only one addressed recipient. It's classified as top secret, SIG 3 UK eyes only. Well, GCHQ's boss is only answerable to the government. He doesn't have a boss himself because he's the chief boss, which means that when he writes this document, no other boss at GCHQ needs to look at it. The level of security would mean that he would not want a secretary to spell or grammar check that document because she doesn't have the need to know. It's an informal letter to Boris Johnson. Now, this 4chan, let's go back to this. That's not the one. Did I just shut that down? Okay. There's an argument here that the alleged backstory is evidence of falsehood. The claim that the GCHQ had sought permission to surveil Trump's organization at the request of the US president, who would be Obama, could only be genuine if we were to believe that British civil servants would accept a tasking directly from the US president. Well, it's only just a few weeks prior to that I think Obama came over here, didn't he? 2006, late 2016.
Well, it was argued that why was he interfering in our political affairs, if you remember?
Yeah, that's right. Now let's have a look at a Channel 4 article. If I can find it. Yeah, this is the Channel 4 article. Alleged Russian influence on US politics through social media. Here's what we know about the alleged Russian involvement in Brexit. Well, this was written before Mueller's investigation was concluded. So what they're doing is creating a parallel narrative to the Russian collusion hoax and saying more or less, well, if the Russians could have rigged the US presidential election, then they could have also rigged the Brexit result.
Well, this is interesting. You mentioned a website called Fact Check. Do you know who sponsors Fact Check? Because it's a case of who pays, who plays the tune and all that.
I would guess Soros, but you have to fact check that for yourself. So anyway, you've got these British terrestrial TV stations who are creating this fake Russian hoax regarding Brexit, and then using that basically to imply that the Russian collusion hoax, well, the Russian collusion theory, conspiracy theory, must have had truth to it because the Russians are doing everything, meddling with everything. Well, none of these things have led anywhere, and we all know that Hillary Clinton was behind the Russian collusion hoax. So you've got all of these British TV stations, and even the Daily Mail was selling us on this hoax. You can still see the Wikipedia page on the Russian collusion theory that seems to suggest that maybe it's true. That same Wikipedia site that does not mention Father Edmund Higgins's role in Hannigan's resignation. Now, the BBC that more or less spreads the same lies, all of its employees are known to, all of the big star employees are known to be vetted by the MI5. So they would not be spreading this Russian collusion hoax nonsense unless MI5 wanted them to. So let's go back to this article again. The alleged backstory of evidence is a falsehood. Can we believe that British civil servants would accept a tasking directly from the US president? Well, they wouldn't task directly from the US president. The tasking from the system, and Obama was just a part of that system. Obama, Clinton, Theresa May, David Cameron, Mueller, Comey, they're all part of that system. So Obama is just basically a spokesman to try and put Hillary Clinton into power. And if
it's like a parallel universe, isn't it? As you say, these people are
tentacles,
determined to get their own people in. They don't recognize national borders.
this is a transnational tentacle beast.
Yes.
Yeah, and if you look in this document, there's no reference of how Rice or Obama contacted GCHQ, and there are arguments from David Orman that Obama, if he's saying, he's ridiculing the idea that GCHQ would be telephoned directly by the White House. Well, this is a complete straw man. Ormond would have seen the BBC himself, and all of these news channels spread this Russian collusion crap. He'd have known it was crap because he was a former head of GCHQ. So he knew that Trump was being spied on, and we've got this deep state trying to put Clinton in power, and he's basically rubbishing the claims. And he knows too well that Obama and Hillary Clinton and Podesta and all of these scum would have probably murdered Seth Rich. He was clever enough to know all that, so he knew that there was every possibility that this letter was authentic, and he just puts his spin on it. Now, the other argument is that there's a number of images embedded in this coloured document, a GCHQ logo, and the blue signature. And there's the argument, well, anyone could have taken a document, typed it up, inserted these images, and then basically created this document. And while that's true, that does not mean that this document has been proven a fraud. That is a speculation. It could be equally true that this is an authentic document. Now, if you were to contact GCHQ and ask them whether the document's authentic, they would probably neither admit nor deny it. They'd have immunities to Freedom of Information Access requests. There's probably a 100-year time limit on finding the truth. So none of us outside of the very top of GCHQ know whether or not this letter is authentic. Even the underlings at GCHQ, the second-tier management, wouldn't know that. So none of us is in a real position to know whether it's true or false. But what we can see is that there's a lot of internal logic, and it fits in exactly with what we'd expect of this sloppy, sleazy bastard Hannigan getting Trump spied on so that they could put Princess Paedophile Clinton in power.
Well, it fits. I mean, like the Diana papers with her death, they have an embargo on those papers for 100 years. And this is as equally important as who killed Diana. So
Yeah.
the 100 years, yes, we're not going to be around in 100 years' time, one way or the other. So how anybody can say that this was fake or not, they will never be able to say that. So why would they want to take to the airwaves and disrespect your information?
Yeah, we've been accused of being disinfo agents, but all of this stuff is public domain. We're not introducing material that we say we've got from secret sources. We're not, covering up secret sources. We've just taken this off the internet and using our own inferences. So anyone is free to infer what they want from that document. When they see Sean's video and see that this is the opening document, they can do exactly what we've done, is go through the document forensically, make a judgment themselves on the character and the content of this letter, and whether or not it's true or a fake, the basic, what it portrays, true or fake, is a truth that Trump was spied on by the British establishment, and it'd be unthinkable that MI5 and MI6 were running this hatchet job with the Steele dossier while GCHQ was told to leave it alone. That's the most bizarre and absurd conjecture of all. So GCHQ would have to be involved, and I think they were deeply involved with the spying on Trump. And what we can see now with people calling for the impeachment of Trump merely for exposing the bribery of, well, not the bribery, but the blackmail of the Ukrainian leadership to put into power children of the democratic elites. That is the real crime. And the likes of Daddy Dragon saying Sean must take his video down because this is fake. That is censorship.
This is bullying. This surely must be bullying and censorship. Yes, exactly.
Now,
who is he to say that?
Yeah, I was open-minded and I looked at Daddy Dragon's video list. Didn't see any references to Pizzagate or the rigging of the Gina Miller lawsuit or JP Morgan's manipulation on the bullion desk or Deutsche Bank's rigging of FX or LIBOR markets or the GRG frauds or Ted Heath. Never heard of Tilbrook exposing Ted Heath, have you? Or Cyril Smith? Very quiet on that front.
It's funny, though, that you wrote to all these political parties
regarding
the rigging of the Gina Miller case, and what was your response?
Absolutely nothing. I've got those documents archived away. They were emailed. I got the email responses. I've got the metadata in emails. So if anyone wants a copy, you can get onto my website, get my email address, and I'll email you a copy of the letters I sent to any party. I've basically emailed all of the major parties, all of the fringe parties, the centrists, the extremists. None of them were interested in the rigging of the Gina Miller lawsuit. None of them. Which tells me that they've all got the tongues of the judicial asshole, and we shouldn't trust any of them. You and I, Caroline, we don't promote any politician, not even Trump. We expose the frauds that are attacking Trump, but we don't actually say vote for Trump because we don't know him well enough. We don't understand the situation. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we're not here to spread disinfo. We're using public domain documents. We've issued our own FOIAs. We've got the responses from Parliament. These are on my website. I'll put them into browse now so that anyone who still doubts me, I'll show you how to get onto them. So it's whatdotheyknow.com. Here you are. I'd like a transcript of recording of the Q&A put to Jess Staley by the Treasury Select Committee. So there's the URL if you care to type it in. Click on my name on that website. You'll also see the emails linked to the Daily Mail related to Parliament alleging blackmail by Jeffrey Epstein. So you can see all of those documents from Parliament yourself. So this is all public domain now. So whoever is accusing us of disinfo, be particular, specify which information you think we've got wrong, because I can't see any serious mistakes in the material we provided to Sean, the SGT report. I can't see a single mistake. Do you anything more to add, Caroline?
No, I think hopefully we can put this matter to bed. And the question has to be asked, why in literally a couple of hours was the SGT show being aired? Why did we get such a backlash?
I think that's because I mentioned your name. And you and Sean are the only people on this earth who covered those FOIAs exposing how the Mossad elites control the banking system. You are the only person in Britain. Sean is the only person in the USA. And you've got Tilbrook and co via Daddy Dragon trying to take down that information and then accusing us of being disinfo agents.
It's interesting, actually, because when they were crowdfunding in May, I conducted an interview on Facebook about this particular court case. And, you know, it's very, very hard for anybody to take a video down of somebody else's timeline. but exposing, actually asking questions about the court case seemed to elicit the need for Facebook to take the video interview down. Who is actually giving instructions on that court case? Because if the public have been crowdfunding for it, who in the public domain is actually involved in this process?
I would guess the Privy Council. That's my guess anyway.
So there's really no point in crowdfunding for a case that's going to go nowhere, is there?
And Tilbrook knew that in advance because we gave him the full paper trail. We showed that the Gina Miller lawsuit was rigged. He knew what he was facing. Sure enough, his lawsuit was struck out. And then, of course, all of that money that was donated to him, seems to end up lining the pockets, doesn't it? But if he'd like to respond to that, we could give him an interview.
We could.
And we can give Daddy Dragon an interview if he really wants one.
Well, I gave him an opportunity for an interview, what was it now, 18 months ago, and that was an interesting time, shall we say. Okay, shall we leave it there then? Thank you all. Thank you so much, Mark Anthony Taylor. It's always good to collaborate with you because you always do your research and you just don't talk and shoot from the hip. So I'd like to say thank you to everybody for watching and listening. Please do share this video. As Mark and I have said, this initial interview with Sean of SGT has amassed 52,000 views already in less than 24 hours. So let's get the message out. But at the end of the day, we need to highlight the corruption in our government and the corruption in our judicial services. And it seems like everybody is covering for somebody else. So thanks to everybody, and I'll see you again soon. Thanks, Mark, and I'll see you again as well. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.